The moment of the final confrontation has arrived. The hero steels himself, knowing that today he must finally defeat the monster. A dark, menacing presence looms in the shadows. The enemy watches with glowing red eyes, waiting for the battle to begin. The beast reveals itself, mocking the hero for surviving this long. It admits that such resilience is truly worthy of the title of hero. Behind their leader, the exhausted mage, saintess and knight struggle to catch their breath. Hero Lee Hyun-seok stands firm at the front, protecting his weary companions. Lee Hyun-seok tightens his grip on his weapon. He scoffs at the monster's praise, unimpressed by its words. The beast roars in fury at the hero's lack of fear. It cannot tolerate such disrespect from a human. Gathering dark energy in its claws, the monster prepares a devastating spell. The hero watches intently, ready to react to the incoming strike. Lee Hyun-seok leaps into the air to intercept the beast. He strikes hard, clashing directly against the monster's massive form. Meanwhile, the mage quickly casts a protective barrier. The rest of the party braces themselves behind the magical shield to survive the shockwaves. The monster surrounds itself with crackling purple energy. It roars, unleashing its full power to overwhelm its opponents. With a burst of speed, the beast dives from the air. It launches a powerful energy attack directly at the ground. The attack crashes down, forcing the hero to block with everything he has. The monster boasts that its power is forged from its own savage body. Lee Hyun-seok grits his teeth, straining against the immense pressure. Despite the weight of the attack, his focus remains unbroken. A blinding explosion of light erupts as the two forces collide. The hero and the monster are locked in a violent struggle for dominance. Amidst the chaos, the hero's hands do not slip. He grips his weapon with iron resolve, refusing to let go until the battle is won. The warrior steals his resolve, announcing that the time has come to bring the conflict to a close. He activates the paradox flame, unleashing a torrent of fire that engulfs the battlefield. Ignoring the chaos around him, he charges forward, tearing through the debris to reach his target. A blinding light erupts as he clashes with his opponent, the impact shaking the very air. The resulting explosion sends shockwaves outward, illuminating the surroundings with intense brightness. He stomps down hard, digging his heel into the earth to maintain his balance against the force. A beam of energy strikes the beast, and for a split second, hunter and prey lock eyes. The ground beneath the impact zone collapses, forming a deep crater from the sheer power of the blow. The winged beast is sent reeling through the air, distancing itself from the warrior below. The monster attempts to counter with its claws, but the warrior meets the attack with a fierce upward swing. Skidding to a halt, the warrior steadies his stance, his weapon ready for the next move. The demonic creature roars in defiance, its jaws snapping open to reveal rows of sharp teeth. Sensing the opening, the warrior tightens his grip on the shaft of his spear. He thrusts the weapon upward with all his might, the tip blazing with fire as it drives toward the enemy. A massive column of destructive energy erupts into the sky, obliterating the target in a storm of fire. A piece of broken armor crashes heavily onto the scorched earth. The scarred warrior stands fearless before a colossal winged beast that bears a burning wound on its chest. His hand tightens around the shaft of his spear, knuckles turning white with the force of his grip. He begins to speak of his origins, raising his weapon in preparation for the next strike. However, he quickly dismisses the thought, realizing that his past does not matter in this moment. The beast's glowing red eyes widen, reacting to the warrior's presence. Looking up at the towering enemy, the warrior acknowledges the creature's nature. He recognizes that this monster is an existence unlike anything else he has faced. The man stands alone, a small figure challenging the overwhelming power of the giant demon. The monster grins menacingly, accepting its own potential destruction while questioning the end. It taunts the warrior, declaring that it is merely waiting for him to die there as the onlookers watch in silence. The warrior remains completely unfazed, calmly accepting the creature's words. The beast suddenly shifts its malice toward the terrified saintess, threatening to kill her first. She freezes in shock as the monster identifies the warrior as an outsider. The wind howls around the warrior as he stands firm, the only barrier between the beast and its prey. The scarred warrior closes his eyes, weighing the heavy burden of his past. A memory of a calm face flashes through his mind, a fleeting moment of peace. Standing amidst the chaos, the knight stiffens as anger boils beneath his armor. He realizes that the emperor betrayed him out of pure cowardice, fearing he would steal the throne. The old man tightens his grip, his expression darkening with grim realization. The hero opens his scarred eye, acknowledging the terrible price he has already paid. A dark, monstrous voice speaks to him, mocking the overwhelming power used to trap him. The demonic entity stares deep into his soul and asks if his true desire is simply to return home. He remembers the moment his life changed, sitting at his computer when a mysterious message called him to be a hero. Flashbacks of his early days return, where he rushed into danger to answer desperate cries for help. He recalls the long cold battles where he left the bodies of monsters lying in the snow. Returning from the hunt, the hero approaches the village gates, drawing the attention of the guards. He holds a sleeping child close to his chest, shielding the small life from the freezing cold. The guards stare at him, their eyes widening in sheer disbelief at what he has brought back. Shock overcomes the men as they scream in reaction to the hero's unexpected arrival. A desperate medical procedure is underway to sever a limb before the infection consumes the patient. The knight carries a victim through the snow, lamenting that a simple infection has become fatal because all the healers were sent to the battlefield. A grim realization settles in his eyes as he considers the severity of their lack of resources. Amidst the burning ruins, the clergy gathers to discuss the retrieval of their people. However, a terrifying thought arises that the true horror might not be the enemy, but themselves. The knight is addressed as a hero while he listens to complaints about the otherworlders who completely disregard human rights. He turns his back on the conversation and walks toward the dark smoke and debris. Stopping in his tracks, he lowers his head in a moment of silent contemplation. He grips his sword tightly, preparing to reveal his true feelings about the situation. A twisted smirk begins to form on his face as a dark thought crosses his mind. He struggles to suppress a laugh, his expression shifting into something manic. An ominous red aura erupts around him as he decides to abandon his restraints. He exhales sharply, letting the dark energy simmer. Suddenly, his attention is snapped away from his internal monologue by a disturbance. A massive pillar of light descends from the crimson sky, causing everyone on the battlefield to look up in awe. A blinding burst of energy tears through the dark, ominous sky. A radiant goddess appears within the light, acknowledging the hero's long suffering and endurance. The battle-worn warrior stands before her, his journey finally reaching its conclusion. The goddess looks down at him with a gentle, knowing smile. She asks if he truly dislikes this world, even after gaining enough power to threaten her existence. The hero simply closes his eyes and lets out a heavy, weary sigh. He looks up with a determined gaze, showing no attachment to the power he has wielded. The goddess accepts his choice, noting that the world no longer needs a monster, and asks one last time if he will have regrets. In response, the hero loosens his grip on his weapon. The spear falls from his grasp and hits the dirt with a final thud. He stares at his empty hand, the weight of battle finally lifted from his shoulders. His scarred and bloodied palm is finally free from the need to fight. A pillar of golden light descends from the heavens, completely enveloping the warrior. As the light consumes him, he stands stoically, ready to leave this reality behind. Suddenly, he wakes up in a sunlit bedroom, confused to find himself back in the modern world. The young man sits on his bed and stares at his hand, needing to confirm that his body is actually real. He turns his gaze toward the mirror, looking at his reflection in the quiet of his room. Pressing his face directly against the glass, he inspects his eyes with intensity to ensure this isn't a dream. The reality of the situation finally settles in, and he realizes he has truly returned to his world. Overcome with relief and joy, he splashes water onto his face, reveling in the sensation. He ignites the stove, grinning widely as the familiar flame flickers to life before him. Standing before a delivery box, he prepares to reunite with the one thing he missed the most. The fried chicken inside glows like a treasure, mesmerizing him with its golden appearance. He lifts a piece with trembling hands, his eyes wide and focused solely on the food. Sitting alone at his small table, he finally takes a bite. His entire body shakes with emotion as the flavor overwhelms his senses. Tears stream down his face as he chews, the taste bringing back the weight of how much he had lost. Outside the window, the city skyline is interrupted by an ominous red pillar of light. Unconcerned with the outside world, he turns on the shower to wash up. He stands under the warm water with a peaceful smile, completely ignoring the emergency broadcast warning everyone about a dangerous rift opening nearby. A strange sound comes from the vent, prompting a confused reaction to the sudden disturbance. Seeking the source of the commotion, he approaches the window to look out at the city. A massive smiling face suddenly appears right outside the glass, turning curiosity into instant terror. The creature smashes through the window, shattering the glass and forcing him to recoil in shock. Fear paralyzes him as he struggles to comprehend the monster looming over him. He falls back onto the floor, scrambling away while trying to make sense of the impossible situation. Even as panic takes hold, a robotic voice continues to repeat an announcement in the background. His eyes widen as he senses that the danger is far from over. A chilling, mocking laughter begins to echo through the darkness. He realizes he is surrounded as more of the grinning creatures cling to the outside of the building. Another sharp claw pierces through the barrier, signaling that the swarm is breaking in. With no time to think, he turns and sprints away, fleeing from the monsters pouring into the room. He runs through the building with desperation, knowing that stopping means death. The horde of smiling monsters floods the stairwell, chasing close behind him. The creatures continue their relentless ascent, swarming up the stairs in pursuit of their prey. A man quietly infiltrates the building, climbing through a shattered window frame to get inside. He peers cautiously around the wall, checking the corridor for any signs of danger. To his surprise, he spots a young boy running down the hallway, holding a long stick as a weapon. The man freezes as the child confronts him, asking if he has seen where the monster went. The boy waits expectantly for an answer, looking completely serious about his hunt. Confused, the man stares back, unsure how to respond to such a strange question from a child. He observes the kid, who cheerfully comments on the fact that the dangerous rifts are older than he is. The boy's expression turns skeptical as he corrects the man, showing he knows more than he appears to. The man visualizes the terrifying reality of the monsters, realizing the true danger the child is discussing. A sudden realization strikes him, causing his eyes to widen in shock and panic. He quickly turns his back on the child, attempting to act natural and avoid further scrutiny. The boy persists, pointing out that online videos say it is impossible to travel to Korea from that location. The child smiles knowingly, seemingly amused by the holes in the stranger's explanation. Internally, the man feels a wave of relief, believing he successfully managed to change the subject away from his slip-up. He composes himself, hoping his distraction was enough to fool the sharp-witted kid. The man's gaze sharpens as he senses a sudden disturbance nearby. He quickly covers the boy's mouth with his hand to prevent him from making any sound. Hiding in the shadows, the man curses their situation while the confused child stays silent. A pack of masked creatures crawls through the corridor, hunting for prey. The man watches the monsters closely, assessing the danger they pose. The boy trembles in fear behind the man, who stands firm to shield him from the threat. Tears fill the terrified child's eyes as he clutches a stick, afraid of being abandoned. The man looks at the boy and realizes he lacks a proper weapon to fight with. The creatures begin to close in on their hiding spot, leaving them with nowhere to run. With the enemy looming right behind him, the man prepares to take action. One of the masked beasts spots them and grins with malicious intent. Suddenly, the man unleashes a burst of dark energy, blasting the surprised creatures back. He protects the boy with one arm while channeling powerful magic through the other. A confident smirk crosses the man's face as he realizes he has the upper hand. A massive shadowy entity manifests at his command, providing more than enough power to crush the enemy. The older boy smiles and pats the child on the head, who looks up with starry-eyed excitement. The young boy rushes forward recklessly, shouting about the importance of the kill while his companion yells for him to wait. Realizing the immediate danger, the older boy's gaze sharpens intensely. A terrifying shadow monster suddenly manifests from the darkness, looming over the unsuspecting child. The boy's excitement vanishes instantly, replaced by a look of sheer terror. The creature strikes viciously, its claws tearing into flesh and spraying blood into the air. Stepping in just in time, the older boy shields the fallen child and calmly advises him to stop watching. The younger boy sits trembling on the floor, staring up in shock at his savior. Standing his ground, the protector effortlessly holds back the massive shadow creature with one hand. His eye flashes with a brilliant golden light as he activates his power. With immense force, he slams the monster violently into the ground. He presses his advantage, pinning the creature to the floor with his bare hand. The child watches the brutal display of strength with his mouth hanging open in disbelief. As the fight ends and the older boy catches his breath, the awestruck child asks if he is secretly a hunter. Staring at the pool of blood on the floor, the victor laments having to endure its metallic stench once again. A person grinds their teeth audibly, barely suppressing a surge of intense anger. A crowd gathers and murmurs uneasily, their attention fixed on the children standing in the open space. Suddenly, a small object flies through the air and strikes the wall near the entrance. A young man steps into view, accompanied by a boy holding a staff, sarcastically questioning the insults thrown at the children. The adults in the crowd are taken aback, staring in shock at the sudden confrontation. The woman rushes forward and embraces the boy, weeping and sympathizing with the hardships he has endured. As the mother holds her child, the young man coldly analyzes her appearance, noting her expensive designer clothes and luxury earrings. Abruptly, the young man freezes and looks upward, his eyes widening in sheer terror. A terrifying vision of a monstrous, gaping maw with razor-sharp teeth lunges down at him. For a moment, he perceives the surrounding crowd as a chaotic mass of distorted, screaming faces. The nightmare fades, leaving the boy standing defensively behind the young man, who lowers his head in silence. The young man stands still with a shadowed face, hiding his expression from those around him. He suddenly clutches his thigh, flinching as a throbbing sensation pulses through his body. Opening his hand, he stares down at a deep, jagged scar etched across his palm. Recovering his composure, the young man speaks to the nervous woman while the boy remains alert and guarded. A man stands his ground in a dimly lit corridor, facing a hulking monster with sharp teeth. The young boy watches the confrontation with wide, attentive eyes. He stares at the man's back, realizing the protector has stepped in to ensure their safety. The man remains motionless, acting as a solitary shield against the looming threat. Intense determination fills the man's gaze, leaving the boy stunned by his resolve. A confident smile crosses the man's face as he prepares to act. The woman leads the child away, retreating into the shadows to escape the danger. Panic seizes the woman, and she shouts urgently while trying to hurry the boy along. A sudden loud crash echoes through the area, startling the fleeing pair. As the woman drags him away, the boy turns back and shouts out to his protector. His eyes remain fixed on the scene he is being forced to leave behind. The man steps boldly into the swirling energy, declaring his intention to handle the situation himself. The boy watches in awe, mesmerized by the man's overwhelming presence. The protector smiles with calm satisfaction, showing no fear of the battle ahead. The scene shifts abruptly to a quiet apartment, where the man casually considers ordering some food. The man reflects on the history of the body he now inhabits, noting that the original owner lost his logistics job due to a sudden disaster. While staring at the game victory screen, he realizes that finding regular employment in this new reality is practically impossible. He finishes his snack, the brief distraction doing little to solve his predicament. Needing something to drink, he cracks open a cold can of soda. He slams the drink down on the desk, his frustration mounting as he sits next to his phone. A sudden notification sound from his smartphone catches his attention, snapping him out of his thoughts. He checks the screen only to be reminded of his dire financial situation. With a bank balance that has hit rock bottom, the pressure of poverty crushes him, leaving him clutching his head in despair as he sits alone in the dark. He lies on the floor staring blankly, overwhelmed by the urgent need to find a way to survive. Gazing out the window at the bright sky, he looks for any sign of a solution to his problems. His phone finally offers a dangerous opportunity, displaying a recruitment advertisement for hunters. With no other options left, he heads to the massive skyscraper that serves as the headquarters for the Hunter Association. He enters the building, finding himself surrounded by a busy crowd of men in formal suits. Walking through the hall, he observes the confident and somewhat arrogant demeanor of the people already in the industry. The atmosphere turns tense as the sharp, scarred gaze of a veteran bears down on the nervous group of new applicants. The sharp sound of footsteps echoes as a mysterious figure with long black hair approaches. A man nearby freezes in place, his attention immediately captured by the sudden arrival. His expression shifts to pure shock as he realizes exactly who is walking past him. The crowd of suits parts for the woman, whispering the name Janabi in disbelief as she strides through them. The men are frantic with excitement, recalling rumors that she was supposed to be far away subjugating a dangerous rift. Ignoring the commotion, she focuses on a digital profile for a sword-wielding electrokinetic named Han Sang-ah. She takes her seat in the stands, casually reviewing the data while her nervous escort tries to speak with her. Surrounded by her entourage, she assesses the potential of the target, deciding that she will be useful. The atmosphere in the stadium intensifies as the spectators prepare for the main event. Her companion tries to offer her a snack, but she dismisses the friendly gesture with visible annoyance. The conversation turns serious as they acknowledge that previous training was merely preparation for the deadly reality of facing true monsters. A loud voice booms over the speakers, thanking the gathered hunters for their patience as the event begins. Janabi watches the arena with a confident, expectant smile. The commentator adjusts his headset, receiving the final signal to start the proceedings. Down below, a fighter tightens their grip on a weapon, ready for the battle to commence. A lone figure walks out from the darkness of the tunnel, stepping into the blinding light of the arena. The crowd roars Chanseok's name as he enters the stadium, though he looks unbothered by the attention. The two finalists take their positions in the center of the ring, weapons drawn for the 2022 DXD final fight. Chanseok stares forward with a calm, stoic expression, waiting for the signal. The referee raises his arm high, commanding the attention of the fighters and the audience. With a sharp chop of his hand, the referee shouts for the combat to begin. The blonde opponent smirks confidently, amused by the situation as he readies his weapon. He taunts Chanseok, boasting about his reputation as the undefeated spearmaster of the Hunter Academy. Suddenly, he launches himself into the air, his spear glowing with energy as he prepares a crushing overhead strike. Chanseok looks up, his eyes locking onto the incoming attack with intense focus. The spearmaster swings down with full force, aiming to finish the fight in a single blow. In a split second, Chanseok's gaze sharpens as he reads the trajectory of the strike. A heavy blade slams into the ground, firmly planting itself to intercept the attack. Chanseok effortlessly deflects the blow, knocking the fiery spear upward and off course. The blonde fighter freezes, his face twisted in pure shock at having his powerful attack so easily countered. The blonde fighter barely has time to react as his opponent closes the distance with incredible speed. With a thunderous impact, the dark-haired fighter slams his body directly into him. He plants his foot firmly against the ground, pivoting instantly to deliver the next blow. A powerful uppercut connects squarely with the blonde man's jaw, sending a shockwave through his skull. The force of the punch is overwhelming, causing his eyes to roll back as consciousness fades. As his opponent collapses helplessly to the floor, the victor stands back, surprised that the fight ended so abruptly. He looks down with an awkward, bewildered smile, seemingly shocked by his own strength. Watching from the stands, a woman in a suit stares blankly, rendered speechless by the display. The man beside her leans in, whispering in confusion about whether this fighter truly came from a logistics company. Sweating nervously, the man in sunglasses tries to break the tension by offering something small. He holds out a single wrapped candy in his trembling hands. The woman immediately tells him to shut up, annoyed by the interruption. Back in the arena, the winner scratches the back of his neck, looking sheepish and unsure of what to do next. On the ground, the defeated fighter's face twists in shock and pain as the after effects of the blow hit him. He lies there completely incapacitated, foaming at the mouth and staring blankly at nothing. Two spectators in the stands engage in an animated discussion about the current situation. A sharp, focused gaze watches the events unfolding below with great interest. The men continue their conversation, gesturing towards the arena as they analyze the scene. A woman in a suit stands up with a confident smile, preparing to make her move. She descends the stadium stairs, announcing her intention to head down to the floor. In the arena, the fighter narrowly dodges a heavy hammer swing from an attacker. He counters with a punch to the face, observing that all the opponents so far share the same mediocre skill level. With a powerful upward strike, he sends the armed man flying through the air to end the fight. The victor pauses for a moment, his eyes glowing with intense focus. A sudden movement signals the arrival of a new presence in the ring. The observers in the VIP section watch the proceedings with satisfied expressions. A gray-haired woman steps forward as the next challenger, gripping a sword in her hand. The fighter looks at her and remarks that she seems to be on a different level compared to the others. The swordswoman looks slightly taken aback by his sudden comment. The two opponents face off in the center of the arena, sizing each other up before the match begins. The fighter tightens his grip on the weapon, preparing to unleash his power. Electricity crackles around his glowing eyes as he declares that he won't be holding back. His opponent freezes, sensing a terrifying beast-like aura looming behind the swordsman. A sharp breath escapes his lips, signaling the start of the attack. Wrapped in lightning, he lunges forward with explosive speed. The blade draws near, but the target watches the movement with intense focus. A massive vertical slash of energy tears through the air where the opponent just stood. The attacker puts his full weight behind the blow, expecting it to connect. Instead, the dark-haired fighter flips backward effortlessly, dodging the lethal strike in midair. The swordsman looks up in shock, unable to believe his speed was matched. While upside down, the dodger calmly analyzes the mechanics of the electric technique. He lands gracefully on the arena floor, sliding into a crouch. The attacker stands bewildered, trying to process how his strike was evaded so easily. A confident grin spreads across the dark-haired fighter's face as he figures out the opponent's secret. Realizing he is facing a true threat, the swordsman tenses up and tightens his grip once more. The fighter channels a massive surge of energy, eyes glowing as electricity crackles around them. A storm of green lightning erupts, blasting the arena floor with explosive force. He weaves through the chaotic discharge, dashing forward with incredible speed to close the distance. In an instant, he breaches her guard and halts right in front of her blade. A confident, mocking grin spreads across his face as he stares down his opponent. Before she can react, he seizes her by the collar, completely breaking her stance. Terror fills her eyes as the sudden force rattles her to the core. He clenches his fist tight, gathering his strength for a decisive blow. Unleashing his power, he drives a brutal uppercut into her, lifting her off the ground. The force of the punch cuts through the air, leaving a trail of raw impact. She is launched backward by the blow, her body flailing helplessly from the shock. Her eyes roll back and blood sprays from her face as consciousness fades instantly. She crashes hard onto the stadium floor, her weapon clattering uselessly beside her. The spectators watch in stunned silence, their jaws dropped at the sudden turn of events. He casually adjusts his shoulder, standing tall over his defeated opponent as officials rush to the scene. The young man stands amidst the crowd, his gaze fixed on the events unfolding before him. He raises a trembling hand, signaling for attention. Lying on the floor, he shakily holds his arm up while the referee kneels beside him to check his condition. He recalls a specific instruction to raise his left hand if he felt pain, hiding a cunning thought behind his expression. The official speaks quietly into his headset, communicating with the organizers. Suddenly, the announcer stands up and shouts excitedly, declaring the match is on. The young man's expression hardens, his focus sharpening as the situation shifts. A massive silhouette wielding a giant sword appears, shocking everyone in the arena. The commentators nervously urge the audience to show their support, trying to keep the energy high. The crowd roars with excitement as the fighter stands his ground in the center of the arena. His eye glows with an intense golden light as he activates his power. A heavy blade slams into the ground, and the challenger confirms the identity of Yu Chan-seok. The female opponent smiles confidently, mocking him by suggesting the stage has been too small for him until now. He's taken aback by the suddenness of her attack, sweat forming on his face. Facing the woman and her glowing sword, he realizes immediately that her strength is genuine, and she is a true professional. A confident smirk spreads across the face of the mysterious observer. The commentator reacts with sudden shock to the unfolding events. The black-haired woman stands amidst the crowd, looking completely unfazed and confident. A defeated fighter is hurriedly carried away on a stretcher, groaning in pain. The new challenger steps into the ring, planting his foot firmly beside his weapon. He grips his spear and looks forward with an eager, arrogant smile. The audience watches in terror as the battle begins with a deafening clash of weapons. The commentator sweats nervously, overwhelmed by the intensity of the fight. The woman struggles to defend herself, barely blocking a heavy overhead strike. The man swings his weapon down with full force, mocking her for lasting longer than he expected. He grits his teeth in confusion, unable to comprehend her immense physical strength. Sparks fly as she parries the attack, though she worries about her lack of magical energy. The overwhelming force of the blow sends her sliding backward across the arena floor. She quickly recovers, her eyes fixed intensely and coldly on her opponent. The man is left panting heavily, drooling from exhaustion after the fierce exchange. The woman in the suit taunts her opponent, questioning if he is already exhausted from the fight. She steps forward, planting her foot firmly on the ground to anchor herself. With a powerful heave, she swings her massive red sword downward to crush him. Her opponent grips the shaft of his weapon tightly, bracing himself against the incoming strike. He lets out a strained breath, sweat running down his face as he struggles to withstand the pressure. She leaps high into the air, driving her blade down against his spear in a violent clash. Suddenly, his eye snaps open, sharp and fully alert in the middle of the struggle. Her eyes widen in intensity as she realizes he is reacting faster than expected. The force of the impact sends him flying backward, skidding through the debris. He manages to regain his balance and creates distance between himself and her overwhelming strength. She stands her ground, surprised that he managed to dodge an attack that should have finished him. A dark, ominous aura begins to rise from his body as he stares back at her with a new intensity. The shadows cling to his skin, beginning to crack and shift across his face. A confident smile creeps across his lips as the dark energy fully manifests. The air around him warps as the mysterious power completely envelops him. The young man stands his ground, dark energy flickering around his tattered clothes as he grips his spear. He pushes off with explosive speed, charging straight ahead. The air hisses as he moves, closing the distance in an instant. His opponent watches him approach, her gaze steady and prepared for the collision. He leaps and strikes downward, but his spear is blocked by a burst of light from her weapon. She stares intently, seemingly surprised by the sudden force of the blow. Metal clashes against metal as the two combatants lock weapons in a shower of sparks. Despite the pressure, the woman maintains her composure, looking back at him with a piercing stare. The man grits his teeth, looking upward as the energy around him becomes unstable. A glowing blue humanoid figure suddenly manifests, radiating power. A foot slams down hard, bracing against the floor to shift momentum. A towering shadow looms over the man, bringing a massive blade down upon him. The force of the exchange sends the woman flying backward, tumbling through the air amidst the debris. She regains her focus immediately, peering through the smoke with a serious expression. The man lands safely, his feet touching down in the swirling dust. A young fighter stands amidst the smoke of battle, his clothes torn but his confidence unshaken. He wears a wide, unhinged grin, looking more excited than exhausted by the conflict. His opponent, a dark-haired woman, stares him down with a fierce and intense gaze. Standing over him in the arena with her massive sword, she taunts the fallen fighter, asking if he is ready for more punishment. A wrapper is peeled away to reveal a swirl lollipop. The officials watching the scene recoil in shock and panic at the unfolding events. The woman's demeanor shifts instantly to a cheerful smile as she extends a hand. She offers a business card bearing the name Lee Se-eun. With a friendly expression, she signals for him to contact her later. The arena announcement declares Yoo Chan-seok the winner and summons him to the stage. Teeth crunch down hard on the candy, shattering it into pieces. Later in the lobby, the winner looks at his phone and complains about how the reward system has changed since his time. He suddenly looks up, his attention caught by a looming presence. A massive, muscular man towers over him, grinning with an intimidating aura. Unimpressed by the stranger's size, the young man simply asks for his identity. A business card is presented, introducing Yoon Seong-hyun, a partner hunter from Taebaek LLC. The man offering the card grins with a wild, intense expression on his face. The protagonist looks unamused, seemingly haunted by the mental image of an intense woman. He casually stuffs the received item into his pocket. Yoon Seong-hyun bursts into loud, boisterous laughter. Suddenly, a large hand clamps down firmly on the protagonist's shoulder. The hunter leans in aggressively, bringing his face uncomfortably close to the young man's. Without saying a word, the protagonist pushes the man's arm away to break the contact. His eyes widen slightly as he seems to realize something or spot someone. He identifies a woman with long black hair sitting in a booth as Lee Se-eun. He stands there for a moment, holding his phone and looking slightly confused. The scene shifts to the exterior of a building with a sign that reads The Hut. Inside, a worker greets him with a bright, cheerful smile. Lee Se-eun spots him from her window seat and waves happily to get his attention. As he approaches her table, he comments on the cafe's strange name and asks if anything happened. The young man brings up the topic of a particularly massive and imposing individual. The woman identifies him as Yoon Seong-hyun of Taebaek, revealing that this powerful figure has taken a personal interest in the young man. A sharp, intense look crosses the young man's face as he processes the information. The woman pauses the conversation momentarily to savor a spoonful of her ice cream. Resting his chin on his hand, the young man watches her with a bored and skeptical expression. She continues to eat her dessert calmly, taking her time before proceeding with the negotiation. Sitting across from him, she questions his status as a hunter while they converse in the cafe. She illustrates the hierarchy of her organization, skipping the lower ranks to offer him the top position of partner. The proposal implies that this partnership will bring significant financial gain and corporate backing. She reveals that the organization behind this offer is actually a law firm, despite the intimidating appearance of its employees. Her expression becomes serious as she emphasizes the legitimacy and weight of the business. The young man smiles in response, seemingly amused by the nature of her pitch. Suddenly breaking character, she cheerfully hands him a piece of candy, leaving him confused by her constant offering of snacks. He stares down at the small treat in his hand with wide eyes, puzzled by her erratic behavior. The woman clasps her hands and watches him with a satisfied look, waiting for his answer. A young man sits casually, chewing and looking unimpressed while a meeting takes place. The negotiator reaches into a secure box to retrieve a specific file. An envelope is slid across the table, presenting an offer that is ultimately his to accept or reject. The documents reveal that the mission is an official request from Incheon City. He examines the file, which contains detailed maps and data about the target location. Reading through the papers, the young man reacts with surprise at the details of the assignment. The negotiator gestures openly, emphasizing that the compensation is exceptionally high. The woman smiles cunningly, suggesting that the reward is enough to fill anyone's pockets. The young man stares back intensely, weighing the woman's words and the offer. A confident smile breaks out, marking the conclusion of their discussion. As the woman's convoy departs across the bridge, she questions the true nature of the man she just met. Relaxing in her limousine, she notes that he fought in a tournament with nothing but his bare hands. She remarks to her subordinates that she practically had to spoon-feed him openings during their encounter. Gazing out the window, she reflects on how unusual his behavior is compared to normal people. She concludes that he is truly a monster, distinct from the rest of the world. A group of hunters arrives on the sandy shores of the island, the waves crashing behind them as they prepare for the operation. The team members discuss the mission parameters, noting that the request specifically called for hunters with prior field experience. Two of the men look on with skepticism, questioning whether their companion can truly pull his own weight despite his supposed skills. Ignoring the tension, a hand tightens its grip around the hilt of a weapon, ready for action. The other team members watch in silence, waiting to see how the situation will unfold. A female hunter observes the scene with a confident, knowing smile on her face. The spearman stands apart from the group, silently assessing his own level and capabilities. He turns to face the challenge, his expression serious and focused. Sometime later, the hunter arrives at a residential building, carrying a heavy equipment case to apartment 1506. As he unlocks the door, he reflects on the standard method of handling mana, comparing it to the slow process of filtering water. He enters the room, thinking about how an elixir can drastically shorten the time needed to store atmospheric energy in the body. Sitting down to rest, he acknowledges that the traditional method of accumulating power takes an incredibly long time. His eyes gleam as he considers his unique advantage, the ability to bypass storage and absorb mana directly from the air to strengthen his channels. However, he admits that until his mana channels fully develop, his immediate power output remains dangerously low. Since he lacks the time to wait for natural growth, he decides to use a potion to artificially store the energy he needs right now. A voice explains that his ability to control mana functions differently from ordinary people. Instead of storing the energy, his body skips that step to absorb it directly. The mana surges through his veins, filling him with power instantly. He pops the cork off a small vial containing a green liquid. He consumes the contents, a routine he has maintained for about a month. Looking out the window, he takes a moment to stand in silence after his preparation. The journey leads to Gyeodongdo Island, a remote location surrounded by the sea. A large group of people has gathered there, waiting in line amidst a murmur of voices. He holds out his smartphone to scan a QR code for entry. An official reviews the information on a clipboard, verifying his attendance. A worn signpost designates the gathering point as Area Number 8. Around him, other participants express their fear and anxiety about when they will leave. He observes the nervous crowd with a calm, stoic expression. A scarred woman with short hair stands ready, clutching the hilt of her sword. She turns to him and proposes that they work together during the mission. A man carrying a large spear walks across the deck of the ship alongside his companion. His companion scolds him, remarking that he needs to take better care of his own condition. A voice begins to speak, addressing everyone on board. The passengers stand scattered across the blue deck of the vessel as they listen. Other participants watch silently as the pair moves through the crowd. The spearman looks confused, wondering if the speaker's words are directed specifically at him. A representative explains the hierarchy of the mission, displaying a pyramid chart that ranks threats from unclassified to Class 1. He describes the dangerous nature of the location, mentioning a corrosion rift and a dark looming structure. The official adjusts his glasses and points a finger to emphasize the critical details of the operation. The other awakened fighters listen nervously to the briefing. The ship finally arrives at the destination, looming over the silhouette of Gyeodongdo Island. The spearman listens to the location name with a blank expression. Carrying his weapon, he steps off the boat and onto the wooden dock with his companion following close behind. He looks out toward the green hills and the terrain they are about to enter. The group receives their orders to scout 2 specific areas over the course of a week. The men look on with confusion as the newcomer approaches them. The spearman holds up his phone to show them a map on the screen. Skeptical of his unknown face, the man in glasses asks if he is a rookie. The spearman stands calmly with his weapon resting on his shoulder, unbothered by their doubt. The leader becomes agitated, shouting that climbing the mountain was a needless waste of effort. The spearman listens to the complaint with a blank expression while his companion watches from behind. Moving into the dense woods, the group considers splitting up to cover ground. They dash through the forest, moving quickly past the ruins. As the group runs together, the spearman trails slightly behind the others. The man with spiky hair glances back sharply, keeping a suspicious watch on the newcomer. He turns his focus forward again, his expression serious as he maintains his pace. Looking back with a smirk, he mocks the spearman, noting that rookies always tend to act on their own. Suddenly, the spearman's eyes narrow as he senses something amiss. He abruptly digs his heels into the ground, skidding to a sudden halt. The man ahead turns around in surprise as the spearman raises a hand to stop him. The dark-haired leader signals for absolute silence, warning his team to stay hidden. His companion peeks nervously from behind the rock, startled by the threat ahead. A massive horde of goblins fills the forest clearing, blocking their path. The scout assesses the danger, realizing there are at least 50 enemies gathered there. Panic setting in, he turns to the leader and asks about his unique skill. The leader's eyes narrow as he focuses on the strategy ahead. He reveals his affinity is flame, then asks the mage what spell he is most confident in, to which the answer is fireball. The mage freezes, looking completely dumbfounded by the question. He questions if they really intend to fight such a large force with just the 3 of them. The leader remains calm, explaining that there is a reason for this strategy. He calculates that timing is the most critical factor in their survival. He visualizes the map, noting the positions of the other hunter teams surrounding them. The goblins in the clearing look vicious and ready to attack at any moment. The mage sweats nervously, realizing the weight of the responsibility placed on him. He recalls that the other hunters are delayed and will not be arriving to help them immediately. The black-haired lancer stands quietly, observing the situation with a focused and serious gaze. Using the tip of his weapon, he sketches a quick strategy in the dirt, circling 3 targets to explain the plan. Chanseok stares at the diagram, his expression showing a mix of confusion and rising tension. Suddenly, a pack of goblin-like creatures emerges from the surroundings, their eyes glowing with hostility. Chanseok reacts instinctively, throwing himself backward to dodge a sudden sweeping attack. A burst of intense flame erupts as one of the monsters unleashes a fiery assault. The attack connects violently, striking with the force of a burning kick. Roaring flames engulf the target, filling the air with searing heat and chaos. The force of the explosion sends Chanseok tumbling helplessly through the air. Seizing the opening, the lancer charges in low with a confident smirk, ready to take control of the battle. He focuses intently on his target, gathering power for a decisive strike. With incredible speed, he whirls his weapon around, slashing through the group of monsters in a single motion. One of the creatures recoils in shock, unable to react to the blinding speed of the counterattack. The lancer continues his momentum, spinning mid-air to deliver a wide, sweeping slash across the battlefield. He lands gracefully while the monster behind him collapses, struck down by the lethal blow. A hand tightens its grip on the hilt of a weapon, preparing for action. A massive burst of golden energy erupts, filling the area with blinding light. Chanseok grins with a wild, manic expression as he announces his next move. A figure is caught in the updraft of the energy, hands clasped together amidst the flames. The explosion expands outward, sending debris flying through the air. A hand firmly grasps the handle of a weapon to stabilize it. Chanseok's eye widens with intensity as he shouts to complete his declaration. A heavy impact slams into the forest floor. A heavy impact slams into the forest floor. Continuação. A heavy impact slams into the forest floor. Continuação. Continuação. A heavy impact slams into the forest floor. Continuação. 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 A heavy impact slams into the forest floor. Continuação. 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 A heavy impact slams into the forest floor. Continuação, voz continuação. Continuação, continuação e continuação. A heavy impact slams into the forest floor. Continuação, 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 continuação. A heavy impact slams into the forest floor. Continuação, 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 continuação. One of the men checks on his companion, asking if he's all right. He explains that usually, once the mission is over, the cleanup crew handles the monster corpses. The standard procedure is to fall back and report the situation immediately. Completing the job successfully means they get their reward and go home happy. He tries to reason that there is no need to stay any longer. Suddenly, a presence makes itself known in the dark woods. A massive winged creature crashes down from the sky, ambushing the group. The impact knocks the 2 men to the ground as they scramble to avoid the attack. The dark-haired fighter immediately steps in with his weapon to protect his fallen teammate. The beast grins menacingly, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. The fighter focuses his gaze, locking eyes with the new threat. The monster stands to its full height and unleashes a terrifying roar. The fighter observes the enemy, realizing this is no ordinary opponent. The creature growls low in its throat, ready to strike again. Instead of showing fear, the fighter simply smirks, ready for the battle. Two companions are caught off guard, staring in shock at the scene unfolding before them. A jaw sets tight, bracing against the overwhelming pressure of the moment. The sudden clash of power leaves the witnesses trembling and speechless. A lone warrior stands firm, wielding a massive spear with practiced ease. He stares ahead with intense focus, ready to engage the threat. The air itself seems to scream as a powerful strike rips through the sky. The boy and girl remain rooted to the spot, too stunned to intervene in the battle. They watch nervously, realizing the sheer scale of the combat is beyond their expectations. Despite the monster's ferocity, the spearman maneuvers midair, dodging every attempt to harm him. The girl observes his technique closely, noting his flawless evasion. The warrior shifts from defense to offense, thrusting his spear toward the beast. The creature is overwhelmed by the attack, unable to react in time. A smile of triumph appears on the spearman's face as he corners his opponent. The girl is left breathless, amazed by the warrior's prowess. The spearman delivers a decisive strike, crashing into the monster with incredible impact. The fighter skids backward rapidly, creating distance between himself and the battle. His hand tightens firmly around the shaft of his weapon. With a powerful motion, he hurls the spear high into the sky. As the weapon plummets back down, it targets the enemy while the onlookers watch in suspense. The winged monster charges forward, jaws wide open to attack the unarmed man. Suddenly, the creature freezes, sensing the looming threat from above. The beast is violently slammed into the ground by the falling impact. The spear pierces through the monster, pinning its massive body to the earth. The fighter's gaze remains cold and focused, showing no sign of exertion. The two observers stand frozen, completely shocked by the instant victory. The man stares in disbelief, sweating nervously as he witnesses the display of true power. The fighter casually reaches out and grips the shaft of his embedded spear. As he stands over the defeated creature, the witness stammers, unable to form a coherent sentence. The fighter thinks about the hierarchy of strength and where he stands within it. He confirms that his ranking has now officially risen to grade 3. The girl looks on with concern while the dark-haired warrior stands firm in the foreground. The orange-haired man shouts in panic, trying to convey the gravity of the situation. He screams that the probability of survival will be almost non-existent. Desperate to get through to them, he reaches out and continues his frantic warning. The warrior remains unfazed, casually resting his heavy weapon on his shoulder. The girl listens silently while the orange-haired man sweats with anxiety. The warrior turns to face the girl, holding his spear with practiced ease. She stares back, captivated by his sudden shift in tone. His expression darkens and becomes intense as he emphasizes that he is the one speaking now. A vision of a dying bearded soldier appears, lying helpless on the ground. The figure is engulfed in a blinding burst of energy, disintegrating completely. Back in the present, the warrior smiles confidently, explaining the specific mindset required to survive. The scene shifts to a quiet traditional house sitting under the night sky. The silence breaks as a door creaks open and a boot steps out onto the wooden porch. The warrior exits the building, joining his two companions who wait for him in the courtyard. The two hunters converse, their attention drawn to the situation unfolding around them. Gazing out into the dark landscape, they spot distant lights that reveal the locations of other hunters. The black-haired hunter realizes the danger, noting that using lights in the open makes them easy targets. Lurking in the shadows are terrifying monsters, waiting for any sign of prey to reveal itself. Despite the risk, a smartphone screen glows brightly, acting as a beacon in the darkness. A stick is used to draw a line in the dirt, mapping out a strategy or explanation. The group gathers around the crude drawing on the ground, discussing whether the corrupted beings will eventually disappear. The hunter falls silent, covering his mouth as he contemplates the implications of their situation. Nearby, a companion sits quietly with eyes closed, appearing exhausted and withdrawn. Another hunter rests against the wall, seemingly asleep or waiting for his turn. A hand quietly slides a small sensor device onto the floor near the entrance. The hunter holding the spear recalls that this device is meant to sound an alarm if a monster gets too close. Suddenly, the silence is shattered by the sound of rapid footsteps rushing through the undergrowth. His eyes snap open instantly, sharp and alert as he senses the approaching danger. He pivots quickly, planting his foot firmly on the ground to brace for an immediate attack. Energy crackles around a clenched fist as the hunter prepares for the imminent clash. Chansok watches the unfolding danger with a calm, steady gaze. His focus sharpens, locking onto the threat with intense concentration. A massive purple beast manifests from the darkness, towering over the lone lancer standing in its path. Chaos erupts in the Situation Room as the operators realize the rift has upgraded and Chan Seok is heading straight for the alpha threat. The atmosphere turns grim as the command staff receives a report confirming the first casualty from a different team. An urgent warning is broadcast to all nearby hunters, acknowledging that the enemy is moving far faster than anticipated. Chan Seok's voice bursts over the comms, furious that the mission's danger level was severely underestimated. The support team freezes as the hunter screams threats at them for their negligence while fighting for his life. Chan Seok lands nimbly on the forest floor, having barely evaded the invisible danger. The operator listens intently, relieved to confirm that the hunter is still alive despite the chaos. The monstrous beast lunges with overwhelming force, drawing a desperate curse from the hunter. Chan Seok shouts in shock as he realizes he cannot easily dodge the next attack. He braces himself as the massive shadow of the creature descends upon him. The beast's gigantic claw slams into the earth, shattering the ground with a devastating impact. The spearman braces himself as a ferocious beast lunges from the air to attack. He keeps his eyes locked on the enemy, his expression intense and focused. Leaping backward to dodge, he realizes he needs to act fast. His gaze darts around the area, searching for a specific exit. He spots the dimensional rift pulsing on the forest floor. Without hesitation, he dives toward the portal with the monster right on his tail. The creature's jaws snap shut, missing him by mere inches. As he falls into the void, he taunts the beast to follow him down. A confident, manic grin spreads across his face as his plan succeeds. Meanwhile, an operator monitoring the fight notices the GPS signal shifting unexpectedly. The observer is overcome with shock as he realizes where the signal has gone. The spearman lands safely in a desolate, rocky landscape and takes in his new surroundings. He looks up, suddenly realizing the true scale of the threat he brought with him. A massive claw slams into the ground, shaking the earth beside him. The gigantic beast looms over the spearman, its glowing eyes fixed on its prey. The beast bares its fangs, saliva dripping from its jaws as it lets out a menacing growl. Chan Seok tightens his grip on the shaft of his weapon, preparing for the inevitable clash. The weapon begins to vibrate, humming with power as energy gathers along the metal. He stands firm in the darkness, a dark aura swirling ominously around the blade of his spear. With a subtle shift of his hand, he adjusts his stance to receive the attack. The creature leaps from the high ground, descending rapidly toward him. But Chan Seok watches the approach without flinching. A massive explosion of purple energy erupts as the beast crashes into Chan Seok's defense. The monster strains against the block, its ferocious momentum completely halted. Unfazed by the impact, Chan Seok looks up calmly and remarks that the weight of the attack is nothing at all. Suddenly, arcs of blue electricity begin to crackle across his chest. Deep within his ribcage, his heart pulses with light, pumping raw power through his veins. His muscles tense and expand, physically reacting to the surge of energy coursing through him. He exhales slowly, regulating the intense power building up inside his body. Surrounded by a brilliant blue aura, Chan Seok smiles, noting that this power is far more efficient than he expected. The beast is left reeling, overwhelmed by the sudden and oppressive display of strength. A resonance fills the air as a magical circle manifests in the night sky. Chan Seok looks up, a confident smirk playing on his lips as he observes the change. Behind him, the sky fills with winged demons descending rapidly toward the battlefield. He realized that his opponent has resorted to calling for backup to turn the tide. Unfazed, the spearman declares that trying to overwhelm him with sheer numbers is a futile strategy. Dark, ominous energy swirls violently around the crater as the battle intensity rises. The spearman remains calm, watching the gathering shadows with a cold, analytical gaze. Suddenly, a dark figure materializes behind Chan Seok, raising a weapon to strike a fatal blow. Chan Seok's eye widens as he instantly detects the ambush. A massive surge of energy explodes as the attack crashes down. A heavy blade embeds itself deep into the ground, missing its intended target. The masked creature perches above, mocking Chan Seok for trying to wait out its magical flames. With purple energy gathering in its hands, the creature acknowledges its opponent's intelligence. Chan Seok lands firmly on the cracked pavement, gripping his spear tightly. Without hesitating, he launches himself forward to continue the fight. A spear tip rushes forward through the darkness with blinding speed. The masked lancer puts all its strength into a powerful forward thrust. Energy crackles around the weapon's shaft as the attack intensifies. A blinding burst of light explodes from the point of impact. Chan Seok watches the unfolding attack with intense focus, analyzing the movement. A massive beam of energy sweeps across the battlefield, forcing Chanseok to desperately evade. The creature looms closer, its mask revealing nothing but glowing eyes. The technique is a deceptive move where a second, hidden strike follows the initial thrust. The lancer plants its foot firmly, pivoting to maintain the assault's momentum. A sharp slash cuts through the air, missing Chanseok by a hair's breadth as he leans back. The creature executes a complex two-part spear combination designed to be impossible to dodge. It stares down its opponent, relentless in its pursuit. Chanseok maneuvers in mid-air, narrowly slipping past the deadly streaks of light. He finds his opening, his expression hardening with determination. With a loud metallic clash, Chanseok deflects the spear and strikes back. The monster is struck by a burst of energy, its body glowing with blue light. A massive impact creates a deafening crash, shaking the area. The creature's head disintegrates into particles, completely destroyed by the attack. The hunter looks down at a glowing object in his hands, wondering what kind of box he has found. He holds the purple container firmly and begins to lift the lid. His eyes widen in surprise as he discovers what lies inside. Meanwhile, the control room erupts in panic as they lose the signal from Team 9, fearing the worst. The operator stares in horror, convinced that the hunters have been wiped out. The hunter glances over his shoulder, sensing a change in the atmosphere. Back at headquarters, a sudden notification startles the staff member. A message on the main screen announces that the rift on the island has been successfully neutralized. The operator is left speechless, unable to comprehend the unexpected victory. A faint, confident smile forms on the hunter's lips. He sits down to catch his breath under the night sky, leaning against his spear. Elsewhere, a silver-haired warrior fights desperately with her sword, admitting that her endurance is reaching its limit. The warrior's grip tightens around the hilt of the sword, energy crackling in anticipation of the fight. Breath comes in ragged gasps as exhaustion and injuries begin to take their toll. Amidst the chaos, attention turns to the allies standing nearby. Han Sang-ah. They are cornered against the wreckage, staring down an endless swarm of monsters while questioning their chances of survival. Both fighters pause for a fleeting moment, chests heaving as they try to regain their composure. The situation is dire, with a deep bleeding wound on the leg already slowing down their movements. Suddenly, a creature shrieks and launches a ferocious attack from the darkness. Moving on instinct, the warrior ducks low, attempting to evade the incoming strike. However, the body falters, and a sudden stumble breaks his balance at the worst possible moment. The monster sees the opportunity, surrounding him and pouncing from the air to deliver a killing blow. His companion watches in shock, realizing the defense has been breached. The beast descends rapidly, its jaws gaping wide to tear into its prey. There is no time to react, the threat looming directly in front of his face. Bracing for the inevitable impact, he squeezes his eyes shut tight. A moment passes and he cautiously cracks one eye open to see if he is still alive. Amidst the smoke and debris of a recent conflict, a confused voice calls out from the aftermath. At the designated assembly point, medical teams and survivors gather among the tents and ambulances. A tall figure clad in a heavy green coat approaches the bustling site. Two injured survivors look up, their attention caught by the approaching hunter. Chanseok walks forward with a relaxed demeanor, his massive spear resting against his shoulder. Recognizing him, a bandaged man sitting on the ground waves his hand and shouts Chanseok's name. The man excitedly shows his phone screen, boasting that he cleared the rift on the island an hour ago. Chanseok squats down next to his colleagues, while the female survivor looks on with exhaustion. He sits comfortably on the grass, placing his weapon upright beside him. A man in a formal black suit steps forward to address them, representing the provincial management. Chanseok turns his head sharply, his golden eye fixing on the official. The official conveys a message that the mayor requests a meeting, shifting the scene to a building under heavy rain. Footsteps splash onto the wet ground as someone arrives at the location. Chanseok stands under an umbrella in the pouring rain, waiting beside a parked vehicle. He looks on silently as another figure approaches him through the downpour. A man in a suit waits patiently under an umbrella amidst the falling rain. He walks down a hallway with a young man discussing a report received from Gyeodongdo. The man in the suit gestures as he explains the details to his silent companion. He turns to the young man with a smile, emphasizing a specific point in their conversation. They reach the office, and the man in the suit opens the door to reveal who is inside. A heavy-set man sitting behind a desk looks up and smiles broadly to welcome them. The man at the desk asks for coffee, and the subordinate quickly agrees to serve it. 2 cups of coffee and a box of snacks are placed on a tray for the meeting. The host sits comfortably and speaks with animation while the young guest holds his cup. The young man takes a sip of the hot coffee, his expression unreadable. Without warning, the host jumps up from his seat, startling the young man mid-sip. The young guest freezes with coffee on his lip, confused by the sudden change in demeanor. The host begins to explain the benefits of the Free Economic Zone project. He describes the development of international cities like Songdo and Cheongna. Clenching his fist, the man speaks with intense passion about the future of the project. The young man pauses with a cup in his hand, lost in thought. He reflects on the concept of being a hunter, with a gaze that suggests he has seen it all before. While a driver navigates through a heavy rainstorm, the young man sits in the back distracted by his phone. He looks up, his attention suddenly caught by the conversation or a notification. The driver grips the steering wheel tightly as the weather conditions worsen. The black car speeds along the wet asphalt, cutting through the relentless downpour. Leaning back comfortably, the passenger addresses the driver with a relaxed demeanor. They travel across a bridge, isolated by the storm surrounding them. Despite the smooth ride, the young man notes that even this situation has its limitations. The driver listens silently, keeping his eyes fixed on the road ahead. A closer look reveals the driver's exhaustion, his face marked by deep fatigue. The young man smiles confidently, preparing to share a truth about his past. He reveals that he has lived for a very long time and endured endless suffering. Cutting to the heart of the matter during a meeting, he asks what he must do in return for the support he is receiving. The official standing opposite him is visibly shocked by the young man's blunt pragmatism. The man in the suit clears his throat awkwardly, trying to settle into the meeting. He attempts to present a composed front, though his smile appears strained and unnatural. Nervous sweat begins to trickle down his face as he struggles to maintain his composure under pressure. The young man stares back with cold, unwavering eyes, silently analyzing the situation. Desperate to please, the older man gestures enthusiastically, trying to keep the conversation friendly. The guest reaches out and grips the gift box on the table, his fingers digging into the cardboard. His hand tightens forcefully against the surface, betraying a hidden aggression beneath his calm exterior. He remains seated for a moment, letting the sound of the heavy rain fill the silence between them. The mounting tension causes the older man to lose his cool completely, letting out an involuntary hiccup. Finally, the young man parts his lips to speak, breaking his long silence. He leans forward aggressively, reminding Mayor Park of the specific promise that was made to him. Without waiting for a proper response, he abruptly stands up, startling the mayor into silence. He turns his back on the terrified official, waving a casual goodbye as he prepares to leave. The gift and the coffee are left behind on the table, untouched and forgotten. Outside, the heavy rain continues to batter the empty city streets. In a rain-soaked tunnel, a hooded figure acknowledges a report while his subordinate kneels submissively nearby. The mysterious leader keeps his face hidden in the shadows, silently contemplating the situation. The kneeling man looks up expectantly, waiting for a reaction from his superior in the gloomy weather. The leader breaks his silence to mention a specific video clip he has acquired. He holds out a phone to display footage of a warrior executing a powerful attack with a spear. A wicked smile forms on the hooded man's face as he praises the combatant's exceptional skill.